Hello everyone, my name is Tony Ortiz. Your friend is back with another Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Randomizer tutorial episode, and here we're going to talk about strategy and routing. So this is kind of like what you're going to come to after you're familiar with all the stuff in the game. Most likely you've played through the game already once in the base version, and then you're familiar. But if you're jumping right into the randomizer, which is totally fine, this is probably going to be a very big help to you because we're going to learn a lot about the castle, where things are, what is where to go, and things like that. This one's going to be a lot longer just because we're going to cover a ton of stuff. So strap in for that. I'm going to use my regular playthrough just so that we can speed through a lot of this much quicker and so that I don't have to do a bunch of editing and chop stuff up because I'm terrible with video editing. You'll notice a lot of these things are done in one take. So we're just going to leave the equipment the way it is because it doesn't matter. And so this is where you're going to start on the ship. And right away, you're going to find a first chest. And if you're playing the STS set of flags, this will be a key item chest. And if you are not playing and you're playing Max Chaos, this will be a random item. So, I've kind of discussed that already. But yeah, there's 100% of the time you're just going to want to open this. So as you come forward, you're going to see an inaccessible area up to the top. Don't worry about that. It's effectively useless to you in STS. You might have to come back here. There's some items up here. In Max Chaos, there's a treasure chest and an item on the floor here. So you might have to come back to this little section, but you'll just, first time playing, go ahead and ignore that. You won't need to go up there. Alright, and then you're going to come through to the next room. There's a chest over here that's brown in STS. Usually worth opening still. Again, Max Chaos, these will all be randomized. This door kind of like shows you how the game's mechanics work. Okay, so you're going to hold the directional to open doors with these little blue bars or pull little blocks out or around with these little blue these little blue swirly, that's that thing up there. All right. Then you're going to be out here, and if you want to, you can make this jump without any extra speed, and then come over here. There is a breakable wall right here with something in it, and there's a chest with armor. When I first started out playing, I actually would come and check this because you can get some really good armor early, and that can help you out quite a bit, especially if one of your issues is you don't dodge a lot of enemy attacks, you get hit a lot. So you can check this out. And in Max Chaos, you'll want to check this for sure every time, but STS, we usually end up skipping this. And then you'll come over to this section, and this is the way forward down, but you'll definitely always want to come over here to the right. No matter what's over here, you want to check it. Again, in Max Chaos, there's another chest up here. That apparently I had not collected. Just has a hairstyle in it, so not really anything in terms of completion, but yeah, there's that. If you have movement, you can come back to this chest in Max Chaos, but this chest right here will have an accessory in it, and accessory locations are very, very important because the Jeebel's glasses could be in one of these chests. Every chest in the game is shuffled in Max Chaos, but in STS, the same type means that only stuff is shuffled with its own type, so all the accessory chests are shuffled with themselves. And since the very last chest in the game you can open when you have 100% completion of the map and 100% of shards collected has Jeebel's glasses in it, that chest gets shuffled around. That does mean that every now and again you'll get a seed where Jeebel's glasses will be unattainable because it'll be in its vanilla chest. But most of the time, vast majority of the time, it is not. So you definitely want to check every single accessory chest. This is the best item in the game by a long shot. It makes all sorts of stuff that's not that good immediately viable to beat the game with. So you'll always want it, no exceptions. So make sure you check this for sure. You can go to the left here. This is just going to be a section for, again, Max Chaos. Coming through here, there'll be a chest here. There's a save room normally here. This can be shuffled, again, in Max Chaos. Well, we won't touch really much on save rooms, but you can see if I move myself out of the way here a little bit, you can see the lower bad on the mini map. Maybe I'll put myself like right there for the rest of this so you can see the mini map. This can be shuffled to Max Chaos to Warp Room. So basically in Max Chaos, you're going to want to check every single save room because it could be a Warp Room. And you want to build that network of Warp Rooms to travel around, make things faster if you have to backtrack. And you will have to backtrack quite a bit. So definitely check these rooms. In Max Chaos. In STS, they're not shuffled, so you'll just kind of get to know where a lot of you'll know where all the warp rooms are, and you'll decide when you need to save and when you don't, when you need a health refill, when you don't, and you'll always pick up all the warp rooms, with the exception of the very first one, because if you have like a waystone or something, you may be able to teleport back. and then just pick that up. It's right next to where you teleport back to. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. But yeah, normally this breakable wall has to be broken from the other side. And you have to have a fire elemental something to light this fuse and break it. The game gives you one of these in vanilla right away, but normally this is only going to be a concern if you are playing max chaos and you want to quickly come back to this other side of the boat. Normally you would have to go all the way around down this right side and all the way underneath and all that we're going to travel on. Drop down to the bottom of this area here. So there's chests here. You're going to definitely want to check these. They'll have starting equipment in them in both sets of flags. There'll be money and a stat up over here. You can skip this in STS, but a lot of times early, since we're going to be low level throughout most of the playthrough, we'll pick up early money. We'll pick up an early health or mana, just because we need to build up to like a little bit of an amount to make sure that we survive and that we can cast our spells and stuff. So yeah, you'll always want to drop down there and loot some of that stuff. Then you'll have to go left. And in this room, this Canamort here, the first time you kill him, will always drop a shard. I mentioned this a couple times, and normally in the vanilla game, you'll have to use that shard, which is, I think it's like flame cannon or something, to light this fuse on this thing, cannon, and it will blow a hole in this wall. In Randomizer, this will just already be open, because if it didn't, that would be pretty bad. You'd be just soft locked right here. So this will already be open. But this other shortcut to the right that I mentioned will not be. So the good thing, though, is if you do want to open the shortcut over to the other side, there is a free DLC fireball that comes with the game. And even if you don't get anything that does fire, over on this side, you can light this fuse with this free DLC fireball purple shard. Okay. So we're coming this way. This chest will be openable here. Here's a breakable wall for you. And I will have a link in the description of this video to a Google Sheet map that is a map of the entire castle, and it covers where all the breakable walls are. These are pivotal for knowing max chaos and how to beat max chaos, because in STS, all these breakable walls will have stat ups in them, or like a food item or something else that's not required to beat the game. But the minute you play max chaos, you can shuffle Zangetsuto and the silver bromide and boss keys into these walls, and those are all things that might gate you from being able to beat the game. So you need to know where every single breakable wall is and where every single like gimmicky item chest that you can find is. So I'm not going to mention every single breakable wall we go by, but I'll just refer you to the the link in the description that'll have a chest. Shout outs to Scott Moon, who drew it up initially, and then I've made some corrections and modifications to it. And I have a copy of it that I host for everyone. If they want to use it, it's a free resource. Please feel free to check it out. And if you see anything that you think is incorrect, let me know and we'll fix it. Okay, so we're just going to come on down here. Pretty standard gameplay. Coming into these next couple of rooms. No big deal. And then if you're playing in the STS set, you're going to always want to check this chest right over here. This is another key item drop. And what this is going to do is, again, shuffle in max chaos, but with max chaos, you have a different set of strategies. So max chaos, you're basically opening every single chest that you see, with some rare exceptions. Even in the beginning, you're going to want to open a lot of blue chests, because you're going to want the crafting materials. You're going to want potentially food items for healing. You're going to want money from red chests. You're going to want all that. In STS, you usually don't need those things, so you're going to skip a lot of them. So now, normally in STS, I would just go immediately over to this side here, and I would jump and climb up, because I don't care about anything that's over on this other side. But there's a blue chest and a brown chest here. So in max chaos, I would almost always come over here and pick these up. It doesn't take too much time. And then when you get to this area right here, you can use one of the tricks that I showed you in the last video called Coyote Time, where you can jump or take an action after you've slid off of an edge or walked off of an edge. So you can walk off the edge and just jump. Now normally you have not as much speed as I do, and you don't have like the extra books that I have from the DLC and everything being complete. So normally you're going to have to do like a slide jump off, and you'll land like on this platform. It's a cool way to save some time. Even if you fall, you can just jump up here. But you'll see, and when I do some max chaoses, you'll see me do this little cool tech jump over there. All right. Again, warp room or save room, depending on what you're playing. And a lot of this will make more sense when you watch my example playthroughs I'm going to do 2 seeds, 1 STS and 1 max cast for you guys as part of this series, and I will be talking all the way through, talking about what's going on, what I'm doing, not basically nonstop, just to, so you get the feel of like what's going to be going through your head as you play a randomizer. And even if you're not speed running it, you're playing it slow, you can still apply all these techniques to just a casual, set of flags, and then whatever you roll up. Okay, so more treasures and stuff. Pretty basic tutorial section. Now this section right here, this is obviously not reachable with like what you normally would have. In theory though, in max chaos you could get some movement and be able to get up here. If your first purple was reflector ray or dimension shift, you can get up here. And there's a breakable wall over here, and this is a breakable wall with an accessory, which is why I wanted to mention it. So you could gamble big and try to find Jeebel's glasses here, even in an STS race, if you wanted to. So just noting that. I'm going to try to cover every single accessory check in the entire game. I'm pretty sure I know where all of them are. There's 1 or 2 that I might be fuzzy on just because like they're in sections we never go into in STS, but again, refer to that document that I have linked, the sheet that I have linked, because that will have all the chests labeled, right? This is also this is an accessory, I believe, in STS. Yep. Okay, then you're going to have this little brick puzzle where you just move this brick that's glowing over here so you can jump up and over. And normally you just progress to the right here. There's a little hidden chest over here to the left. We'll reward you for exploring. And then we have a similar thing right here where if you have Kung Fu shoes or one of those 2 movement purples in STS that I just mentioned, you can get across to this upper platform up here, right? So, love that I failed miserably, but you can get across. The thing is, in STS, this is an armor chest, and armor isn't typically something we absolutely need to beat the game. Although it could be Aegis Plate, which can make your life way easier later. It could also be the Valkyrie armor that I'm wearing right now that has a huge luck boost and massive defense. So, if you're newer and you have Kung Fu shoes and you're confident with your ability to do quarter circle jumps or quarter circle forward attack, I would definitely go for this as like a safety, Okay. We drop down here. There's a check over here for max cast players and a saver warp right there. There's a item chest here, and then this is where you fight your first boss. It's a sequence of fighting where you're on the ship and there's attacks and all that, blah blah blah. But when you finish, you will end up like right here, and you'll have some stuff to do. All right. Again, not too much to any of this section here. This is the fetch quest NPC. She will ask you to bring her a very specific item, and then she will give you a reward. The specific item she asks you to bring will never change, so if you want to memorize these, you can, but it's very, very rare that you'll find all of them, especially in STS. Even in Max Cast, it's very unlikely, because some of them are set drops from chests, and some of them are not. So you just have to get them randomly off of enemies that drop them, or you have to get them in the shop, or you might even have to craft them because the shop is shuffled. So there's all sorts of weird stuff, but you can check it out. If you want to go for it. Oftentimes we'll go for 1 or 2 levels because you can sometimes get an item that will craft you into something better with what she rewards. This is your farmer dude. If you have any rice, potato, or corn seeds, you can talk to him. You can give him a seed, and he'll grow that stuff for you. You leave this section for an arbitrary amount of time. You come back later, talk to him again. He'll give you stuff. This does actually matter because if you have rice specifically, it's very easy to make food items with just rice and 1 or 2 other items. And once you create something or cook it, it will be available for the shop. So if you are low on potions, or you're just low on defensive items, or whatever, or you're super low level and you want to go to the end of the game, rice can be a big thing strategy-wise to just craft into an item that uses rice for food, and then buy a bunch of that in the shop to have a bunch of healing. Okay, this is your main shop area. This is your quest kill NPC. So she's going to give you, kill these 5 enemies, kill these 3 enemies, kill this 1 guy, and then I'm going to give you this reward. So The only part about this that you need to remember is that you do not get any credit for any enemy you kill before you pick up the quest from her. So you have to talk to her. She tells you, hey, here's all my quests. You pick them up. You can actually multi-select with the X button and then confirm with the A button. So you can select like 4 or 5 of them at once. She will start with only this one quest available, which is kill Mort 5 times, over to the left there. And oftentimes we will take an extra like 30 seconds to a minute to go ahead and finish this, because no other quest at all will ever open before you complete this one. So once you complete this one, quests will open up depending on what sections of the castle that you have available. And in STS, it's not too important, especially because this first one is an accessory check, which is really good. So you can check this. If it's nothing, you can kind of just move on. You'll get 5 more kills unless you just speed right past them. They are in sections after this. But you can also just make sure you kill 5 to open up other quests later. But in STS, typically, you're only going to be looking at like this one for another accessory check. This one for another accessory check. You know, that's all you're really looking for. And, you know, you'll almost never kill Millionaire. You have to have the Millionaire key to open it. And then you have to fight an optional super boss. And if you're doing all that to find Jeebel's glasses, you likely have enough power to just go beat the game anyway. So this one doesn't really come up, you know. But there's a few of them in here that are there. Okay, and let's go left first. This is an easier bit to explain. This is the shop. When you play Randomizer, all this stuff's going to be shuffled around. And I talked about that a little bit already. But yeah, this is your shop. You buy stuff. You can sell stuff. And you can sell shards. You can sell an amount. You know, you have a quantity menu over there. And that's pretty much it. Normally when you play through the game, this is going to be Dominique. And then Dominique will do her little event. And then Dominique will be replaced. When you come and talk to the shopkeeper with the silver bromide in your inventory, you'll get a cutscene where Miriam gets her picture taken by this camera, and that's necessary to open a section of the game and advance the plot. So when you play Randomizer, if you find the silver bromide out there, that opens up this train section for you. Normally these first 2 hallways you can access without anything, but there's a gate here that you can't do without doing this little mini quest. And then coming back to this section, and then this opens up this whole train section right here where you kind of come down and around, and then there's a teleporter at the end if you're in STS. So this whole quest and section takes a lot of time. So in STS runs, a lot of us will typically leave this for last or second to last or whatever. You know, it's a strategy choice. But you do have to do the whole quest to be able to get in there. So part of that's first finding the silver bromide. Then you have to bring it back here to the shop, talk. It'll automatically happen. And then you have to take the item that you get, the identification, up to OD in the library, which is all the way over here. And then he'll turn it into the pass plate, and that's what opens the train gate for you. So keep your mind on that. Okay, this is Johannes. He does all your crafting. So if you want to craft an item, this is how you do it. You look in the menu, take a look over to the side, and you go, oh, okay. Yep, I want to make those. And then you make it. And the ingredients are taken from you. Now, shards don't actually, I don't think they are expended. Yeah, so shards aren't expended, but the other ingredients are. Every other kind of ingredient is. Right, so I can just upgrade all these. And you can kind of see what the rank upgrade does. I think I talked about this in the shard video already. This is the NPC you do it at. He's got all the prepare food stuff. He's got all the enhancing that you can do as well. And he's got all the dismantling. And there's a save room over to the right there. This is always a save room, even in Max Chaos. And this room up here is always a warp room in Max Chaos. And that's because if you couldn't warp back to the rest of the castle after you waystone back to this area, you know, that would be pretty lame and pretty slow. So speaking of waystones, I've already shown it off, I think, but we'll show it off right now. You use one, you teleport right back here. This is a great way to get out of the castle if you can find them or craft them and then buy more. This is something you always want to have a bunch of on you to make things quick. So, one thing about this warp room, not only is it always here no matter what you do, but you don't have to grab this warp room right away when you are playing in any set of flags. If you find waystones in the shop or have already found a waystone, you know you're going to come back to this area for sure, and you won't have to use a teleporter to do so. So you can just skip. If you have waystones in the shop and you're just going to buy a bunch, which I recommend, you can just skip this, and then you can grab it when you're going to go teleport back to wherever you were at, or wherever you want to go. However, if you don't have any, I would always grab it because you'll want to teleport back to this area frequently. And also, if you only have one or two and you're unsure that, well, there might be a spot in the game where I really need a waystone and I don't know if I'm going to find them, or I don't know if I'm going to find the items to craft them or whatever. You might want to just grab this anyway and save your waystones for a point in the game where it can save you the most time. Another good thing you can do is if you're playing Max Chaos, check the crafting menu and see what it takes to see if waystone is here. And if waystone's here, make note of what items it takes to craft. Because I think I've already mentioned this as well in some of the other tutorial videos, but in case you haven't seen those and you're jumping right to randomizer, when you look at an enemy's drop pool, you see that section of 4 items there. Drop item and drop rate. Potentially 4, could be nothing, could be 1, whatever. Those are remaining intact. That pool of items is always going to remain intact. So this Leonin Pelt, Coco, Monster Fang, these will never be separated from each other. What happens when enemy drops are shuffled is that it takes this whole pool and it takes all the pools off of every enemy in the game that drops an item or a group of items, and it shuffles the whole pool to a different enemy, or the same. It can be vanilla. So what you can do is you can really get in depth with the knowledge, and you can get deep down and you can learn every drop pool. You can at least learn what items do drop, what items are associated with others in the same pool. And then if you see something that you want to craft, you can keep it in the back of your mind and think, oh yeah, if I find this, I know I can farm this, and then I can maybe craft this later. This is a super advanced technique, but I just wanted to point it out. Because especially what some of people's biggest problems with Max Chaos is not having guaranteed access to waystones. They're much less likely you'll find them in chests, and very, very unlikely you'll find them in the shop. You'll almost always have to craft them, or you'll be on a limited amount. So being able to craft them, one of the keys is paying attention and knowing droppable items, and then hoping that the crafting recipe for it lets you do it with items that are easily found, and then you just go and farm those out and you save yourself a bunch of time. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Now we're going to proceed. To progress through this section here, none of this will be opened. This will be open, but then you won't be able to fall through this floor here. There'll be a breakable floor. So what you have to do is you have to come up to this top area, and you have to stand on this little breakable roof here, and eventually it will break. And this is a chest that you want to check. This is an accessory in STS. And then once you're here, you'll want to jump from a higher height, and you fall straight to the middle. You will break that floor, and then that will break the bottom. And normally in STS, this is a blue chest, so we don't usually check, what? In my playthrough, it must have been replaced by a special item. Sometimes this can happen when you play through. You can get a green chest replaces a blue with some special ingredients in it. But normally that's a blue chest. You'll see it when I play through the sample STS seed. You'll have a little bar, little 2x4 here that blocks this door. You can just use a melee attack to break it so that you can come back through here later. Typically not something that's always needed, but once you get a feel for seeds and stuff, you might want to break this. And then for you max players, there is a little item that's up here on this ledge here. A little secret to point out for you. Alright, we've got a 2.5D room. This has the drawbridge. It's up right now. You'll have to hit this switch to lower it. And in STS, there's 2 stat ups up here. So you jump on top, and you can actually, I'm standing on the ledge right above. Kind of see me slide off. See me slide off right there. So in Max, you'll always want to check that because it could be anything. In STS, it's slow. So if you really are, hurting for health, which you shouldn't be because you just came from the village, but, maybe you are new to the game, you want some more health, you want some more mana, you want to jump up there and check those. You can also just fall straight down and go into the caverns area, but without the ability to move through water, you're not going to get through this section. So the progression is definitely forward, and you don't want to fall through here and have this happen, because then you can't get back up. You got to run all the way down through this long tunnel and then back up. Thankfully for me, I've got all the stuff, so I can just... Oh yeah, you can't dimension shift through here. because this is a 2.5D room. Remember how it bent around when I ran? So there's no way back through this at all if you close it by accident. So be careful with that. And look at how long you have to run back to just come back around. All right. So we progress into this section. For you max players, if you somehow find vertical movement, you can go all the way up here and skip a bunch of stuff. Pretty interesting. This is one of the safety rooms. We'll talk about this when we get back here. Just wanted to show that off. But your normal route's going to be straight through. You know, long hallways, Castlevania type stuff. Let me put on some kind of offense here. Alright, so normally to progress here, you can jump across these platforms. You can get chests, but you can just walk straight through. We always will go up, though, because there's a couple extra kills. Like this guy drops a purple for STS. You can actually, if you have vertical movement, come up in here, access this little kind of semi-hidden area. And there's some chests back here and some enemies that you normally wouldn't find until later in the game. So just showing that off real quick. And we got some more long hallways to run through. This section right here, in the vanilla game, you'll actually use the Bloodsteel shard that drops from Bloodless to drain this blood and go down into the caverns. This is much later. Just pointing it out because we're not going to come back here later. So, vanilla progression. Doesn't really come up much in any of the randomizers. It theoretically can in Max Chaos. But I don't think the logic is built for it because Bloodsteel's a red shard. And again, we don't really have logic in the game, but the typical things that are trying to make sure that you can progress through the game, the typical checks, are trying to not put stuff behind what opens it. And I don't think that the red shard thing even comes into consideration, but it is in theory possible to get the Bloodsteel red shard and like break a soft lock with it because, you know, this lets you underground and gives you another place to check. In the beginning of the game, without vertical movement, you will have to come up here to get across this big room in the middle. Because these platforms are none below them. So you have to jump up here and go this way to continue. Okay, this door will be closed. This takes you to the caverns as well. And the only way to get through it is to dimension shift or come around to the other side. You can also go up this way if you find movement. There's some chests up here, and you know, these are weapon chests, so you don't have to really pay too close attention to them, but you can skip stuff to the right if you want, if you have it available, but if you have the normal movement restrictions when you come here, you will not have access to be able to get up to that. It's too high, so you have to come this way. All right, and then here we have the giant garden room. So normally there'll be a pillar here. This will be blocking you from going across. You have to get craftwork to come back here and drop it off. I covered in the tricks video how you can stand on this pillar with reflector ray and kung fu shoes and kick your way across to kind of sequence break a little bit. But when you come in this room normally, this is an optional super boss room. You'll want to go to the right here, and you'll want to kill these toads because they drop purples. Bloom Parma's down here as well. There's another chest past this Iron Maiden, which just gets completely blown out by Gale Crawler. Again, tips and tricks video. Tricks and gimmicks video. Whatever I decided to call it. And yeah, so that exists. But I like to kill one set of these toads in STS just to make sure and see if I can get a lucky with their purple. But since this room takes so long to reset, I would recommend probably not spending too much time here, especially if you're just starting out. Optional super boss. So this is Revenant. He is gonna drop a purple for us, and basically you need the Warhorse key to open this door, and you can see he has a lot of health, but he's really easy when it comes to all the super bosses. He's definitely the easiest one. He does a lot of damage, but you can just kind of avoid a lot of the attacks that he does. You can especially avoid a lot of the attacks he does if you have invert. You can just stand on the ceiling. The only thing he can hit you with from here is one of his axes, and if you crouch, it's still really hard for him to hit you with an axe. So, yeah. The first time you kill him, even though he says he has a 12% drop chance, he will always drop his shard on the first time you kill him. But if you want to kill him again and farm like multiple copies of it, then I think he reverts to that 12% chance. A lot of the other super bosses, this is not the case. So just keep that in mind. There's a hidden wall over here, but it doesn't have an accessory in it, so I'm not going to bother. You can look that up on your own time. There's enemies again. This is a weapon chest, not an accessory chest, so you can get to this all early. If you're newer, that's a good thing to check out. You might be able to get a better weapon out of that. Pretend you didn't see that big swirling black hole thing. Normally down here there's a stat up in STS, and there's another item check. It's MC. So it's another thing you can access early. Again, we're coming through here. And this is normally the way you go and progress. You jump over this gap and you continue. So this room has a few enemies that drop purples. It's got a Blood Grinder Knight and a Barbados. This has a save and a warp. And this is right before the very first boss of the game. The first real boss of the game. The boat boss is like not that big of a deal. But this is where you fight Zangetsu 1. This is the main kind of like screw this, I'm out point for a lot of people when they first start playing. He does hit hard. He does have a decent amount of HP. And he really forces you to understand that to beat bosses with what the game normally gives you in vanilla, you're going to have to learn their patterns, and you're going to have to like respect their patterns, like play around their patterns. So you'll see me fight him in the runs. Like there's almost no way that you skip him completely. Okay, and then down here, if you slide under this, there'll be like a stat up here in STS, an item check in MC, and there's a breakable wall over there. This normally has a weapon in it, so if you're again struggling with a bad melee weapon, you can always check this in STS if you're starting out to try to pick up a better one. Okay, this is a brown chest up here as well, and there'll be another item check right here. Got a big zigzag room. There's another breakable wall over there. That one has a stat up. This will be where the game's first white lamp is, and this will be in STS. It will be shortcut, deep sinker, double jump, high jump, or invert. Right? That's all of them. Yep, that's all of them. So one of those 5. And if it's shortcut, which is the vanilla, that's unfortunate, but you do have a chance to get movement in another section that's really close to here. If it's deep sinker, that opens caverns. If it's double jump, it should open. Technically, double jump will open nothing by itself, but it does give you access to a few things that you can do to get around and give yourself a chance to get places. Technically, it opens the library the long way, and I guess I'll cover that. We'll actually just demonstrate it for you. But all right, so if though that lamp in it does not have invert, typically what a lot of us will do is we'll check the safety invert location. There's 2 safety checks in the game. I think I've already talked about them, but I'll just cover them in detail here. And one of them has the Zangetsu sword, just in case Zangetsu accidentally rolls to be behind itself. And the other one has the invert shard, just in case like some combination of movement prevents you from getting to it, and then like certain parts of the game require you to have invert to get in, because the game assumes you won't have dimension shift until the end. Dimension shift goes around everything, but then this room will have potentially an extra red lamp in it that will have the invert shard. So if you see the red lamp, you can grab it. That'll give you invert right away, and it's a soft lock prevention method. Ordog, our buddy here, drops a purple. Okay, now this room has some interesting routing decisions that you can make in it. It really depends on what was in your white lamp and what purple shards you found. If you have the reflector ray purple shard, you can bounce it off these mirrors and get up this way, and then you can keep using reflector ray to get all the way up to the top, and you can go up and over all the enemies and stuff from this room. And that takes you through this room here. Unfortunately, this door will be closed, so you also have to have a way to get up and through this room and to this other door up top here. So you'll notice here that With double jump or reflector ray, I can get up all these platforms. I just have to treat it like an actual platforming room. So like I can get up here and do this and do this and do this. And I can go across. I can even go further to the left and go across the top and come down and jump down. And then I come into this room here. And in this room, there's a shortcut. There's a breakable floor. You hop on this bell and it will fall. Both of them will. This one will break the stuff in the way and let you come through this way and open the door. And this one will break a little crack in the floor. And you can hit this crack and this will drop you into this little room, which will have this floor solid. If you hit the switch, it opens the shortcut that's in the floor. And then you can fall down. And the reason I'm showing you this first is because if you have reflector ray as the purple or double jump as your white shard, you can do this method. And even though you can't progress in the next area, I didn't have that collected either. That's interesting. You can't progress in this area directly into the Hall of Determination because you have to have a vertical movement to come up this way. You can fight the Bloodless boss, which then lets you into the library. So that's why double jump technically opens the library by itself. It does also though require a bit of execution. Reflector ray, technically you don't need execution. You should be able to get up everything without having to jump out of reflector ray, but jumping out of it makes it easier. But you want to do this in every situation if you can, because it's without dimension shift you can't open the switch from the other way. You have to dimension shift through this floor because this is not open. And even with dimension shift, there is a way to get through this floor when it's not broken, but it's very difficult to do. I would not recommend any new player try it out. So if you have any kind of vertical movement, whether it's invert, high jump, reflector ray, anything vertical besides dimension shift, I would always come up here first in this section to open this, and then you can always go back around and down. And I am going to go back around and down real quick to show you what I mean with the double jump climb, because I showed you how you would do it with the reflector ray. But in this room, if you have double jump, you have to follow a very specific set of lamps on this side of the room. So assuming you have double jump and nothing else, I'm going to turn off these so you can kind of see what it's like. You have to jump and dive kick. So we talked about dive kicking him in the movement tutorial. You can do it straight down, you can do it at an angle. When you dive kick into something like an enemy, you reset your ability to jump not to jump but to dive kick again. So you can kind of dive kick climb in these really interesting specially designed areas where there are enough things to climb off of. Not a ton, but they do exist. And there's also some interesting things you can do dive kick on enemies where you can, like, if it's a boss enemy and you're waiting for it to come out of a phase, but there's like bad stuff on the ground like the cat head and Bale, you can like literally dive kick off its head over and over and over until it does its final attack, and then you can get out of there. But I'm going to show you the dive kick climb. It's not too bad. You still have air control. You only have to hit 3 dive kicks, and then from here you can just double jump. The first one's going to almost always have to be diagonal. I don't think you can do it with a up and down because you won't get enough momentum, but let me try it real quick. Oh yeah, you can do it just up and down. So you don't even have to do diagonal dive kicks to get up. But then you would follow this exact same path that I just showed you to get up and over into the next section. And you want to do that because you want to open up, that shortcut. Because even if you have only reflector ray or dive kick, if you come back this way, you'll have a teleport room here for STS. You have a strong chance of having a teleport room in other various areas around here. And an easy way back up into this section, as you notice there's no teleport on the way, is to teleport back up into the section where you do have vertical movement with that shortcut already open, and then go back through it. This is especially useful because you might want to get to this way through the hall. It's faster to go through the hall than the library to get up to the Jeeble fight, which we need to do to progress the game and open up the last areas. And it's easier to get in from this side if you have vertical movement. It's just there's less enemies to fight, there's less things in your way. You can skip a mini boss fight that's over here. So, but yeah, let me quickly just touch on there's an accessory in this breakable wall right over here for you in STS. There's that teleport room. You want to grab that. And real quickly before I talk about this boss, I just want to show you the other safety location because it's right here. This is the Zangetsu Toe safety location. So You come through here and into this room. All the way down at the bottom, this floor will be breakable. And there will be a chest and like a stat upward right here. There will be another green chest in the middle with Zangetsu Toe in it if the safety has applied. So if you don't have the Zangetsu Toe sword yet in the seed, you almost always want to come down here and check this. Unless you have like impeccable movement or whatever and you're just like flying, maybe then you can skip this, but you're always probably going to want to circle back because having the Zangetsu Toe sword now will save you a lot of time. First of all, it's the second most powerful melee weapon you can find in terms of raw attack power in a chest anywhere. And look at how close you are to the place where you absolutely need to have it. So typically, it's going to be very rare when it's not the right play to come down here and check it. I mean, if you already have it, that's usually the only time we don't come down and check it. All right. So let's head back up. And yeah, so you'll have this boss fight here. And Craftwork and STS will drop a blue. Usually it's a good look to kill him because in that 1 in 9 chance that he has Accelerator, if somebody else does it and you don't, even if you skip this, they will make up that time by quite a bit. Another good reason to come over here, especially even still in STS, is that there's an accessory check right here. There's also some stuff up here in this room, which you can get to without any extra jumping. You can just jump up the pillar and up and over. So, there's a green lamp with a pet shard in here, or it'll be a random shard for MC. And there's, I think, armor or something in there. And then if you have any kind of vertical movement whatsoever, if you're not stuck with no reflector ray, no dimension shift, you have something besides shortcut or deep sinker, you'll want to do what I mentioned before, come back up through here, and you want to progress into the Hall of Termination from there. But let's assume you don't. So you're vanilla, you either have deep sinker or nothing. Or let's say that blue shard was Craftwork. So then you're going to want to teleport yourself back down here. You're going to want to go back into that big room and garden, and then go across the gap. So if you have Craftwork, you can follow the cutscene. If you have Reflector Ray and boots, Kung Fu shoes, you can do the trick to get across from there. And you can progress this way and through the normal way that the game intends, basically. If you don't, I don't know why I didn't just teleport to this room. I forgot. I'm used to playing too many Max Chaoses. But again, if you don't have any of that stuff, you'll just progress this way. With normal jumps, you can get all the way into the library through this little tower section here, and then into the library. We can show that off, but you get the idea. You just basically go right. You'll be forced to go into this big room section over here. Here, let me do it like this, and in this section, and then you'll go left, and then this takes you to the library. There's jumping puzzles and stuff you get through. You'll get up to OD, talk to the librarian. And then you fight Andre Alphys, which is the boss down here that will have a white shard drop that should get you somewhere. Should get you, if basically shortcut in the first lamp is where you get really backwards. Deep Sinker, you can go down into the caverns at any time. With the other movement, stuff opens up, right? So where it gets tricky is if you have multiple of those things and deciding where to go. Then you're going to basically kind of like want to map out what purple shards are where. Kind of do some math, and then just basically from there either go where the most shards are, purples for STS, or just go where the most enemies are in general in Max Cas, or make a gamble and go somewhere where you think other people aren't going to go and try to win by getting lucky, and that's a huge part of the way we race. Max Cas introduces a lot more of stuff into it as well. Like if there's a ton of chests in this area, you might want to go there if you're still looking for Zangetsu Toe or you're still looking for other good equipment. And then another thing that happens too is you might want to look at like where the accessory checks are and gamble with going to where the accessory checks are. Because if you find Jeeble's glasses and nobody else does, that's a really big advantage as well. And again, it depends on how many waystones you have access to. If you have access to a limited amount, an unlimited amount through the shop, you're going to basically want to change where you go depending on what you have available. So normally we would go to the right here, but let's just say that we did have something, and we're able to go this way. And the reason I want to show this way is because this wouldn't happen in the vanilla game. So if you've played vanilla, you'll be familiar with the route to the right there that we were just at. But if you're looking to play a randomizer, which is what this tutorial says, I mean, this is interchangeable. The tutorials can be used for learning the regular game as well. But this is really more focused on randomizer. So if you have vertical movement, you can go all the way up this way. This is a key item in STS right here, so you'll want to check this. You can open this switch, go through the door, and into the hall directly from this way, and go up from there. If you only have Reflector Ray or Double Jump, and again with Reflector Ray, if you have Kung Fu Shoes, you can take that other route. You'll have to fight Bloodless here, and sometimes this is unfortunate because this is a really tough boss, especially for what we have. But, the game kind of intends you to end up here eventually. But it does intend you to go through the library and stuff first and get stuck and then come back around this way. With Double Jump. So. Okay, yeah. So the fight happens here, and then normally you'd go through this section, go into this room, you'd open this little chain link thingy, and then you'd be in the library, and you'd go from there. All right. And if you come up this way, you'll go straight into hall. And you'll be on this door on the other side. Now, if you are playing max cast, there's a bunch of stuff to check below there. But again, I'll let you kind of like look into that on your own. There's some breakable wall. There's a breakable wall down there. Fun stuff. There's fun stuff to the left. There's stuff to the right. But your main path through STS is going to be coming right up through here, breaking this wall, checking this accessory. This switch will open this door so you can exit out this way. Interestingly enough, that switch that was underneath by that Wraith kind of looking thing that was back here in the Citadel where we were before, for some reason those two switches are actually linked together. So if you hit and flip one, the other one will open. This is kind of an interesting strategy. Like, there is a world where you flip the switch over here in Citadel and then you can't get up to hall, like if you have Double Jump or Reflector Ray, or you don't have either one, you have to go down. You might want to hit that switch. Well, actually, you couldn't get up to this without Double Jump or Reflector Ray, so you would have to have it. But there's a world where you have those. You hit the switch, you go a different direction. Maybe you do the library path or whatever. But then when you're coming back around, you might want to come from the other direction, and then this will be open for you, so you can kind of skip going down and around this whole section and back and up and over. That's the Millionaire room right there with the Millionaire key opens that, and he's an optional super boss. You're only ever going to fight him in Max Chaos. There's really no reason to ever fight him in STS because he drops a red shard, and as good as some of the red shards in the game can be, most of them you have to have infinite MP for them to be any good at all. And second, the time it takes to beat him and the advantage you're going to gain from an infinite MP red shard is not going to be worth the time it takes when you're going to have all sorts of good purples that are good with infinite MP as well. So, yep, we've got this section here, just some saves, a warp, some treasures. This middle chest has a key item check in it, so make sure you check this in STS. This could be where the sword is. And then in the next room here, you've got some checks. You got some item checks all over the place, and breakable thing right here, but none of them are actually significant. And then you come in here, you fight Jeeble in this room, and this is a pretty tricky boss fight for newcomers, but you'll get used to it pretty quick. Remember, if you know how much HP he has, I think it's 2800. And you know that he goes into the mode where you need to use the Zangetsuto at 600. You can try to count your damage and just make sure you don't overkill him. And you'll see me do this fight in both of the example runs because it's required. So we can just leave that for then. But real quick, we'll run over into the library. And this is where you'll fight Abyssal Guardian as the mini-boss. The one time, whether you come from either direction, doesn't matter, you fight him. Okay, and if you're coming in this direction, you just kind of make your way down and through. There's a couple different options. If you're making your way up through this area, you can just kind of retrace your steps. You'll be coming from the right side. That's the only way to come if you don't have vertical movement. But I'm going to go to the left side real quick just to show you where an accessory is. It's not in this room. Oh, what's up here? I don't even remember. Anyway. Yeah. Nothing really important here. Right. Yep. So you have to slide to get through this, or you'll need to invert dimension shift to get through if you're coming up vertically. But in this room, there's a breakable wall right over here. This has an accessory in it. And if you come through Bloodless, this is the way you'll come from Bloodless. So you'll need some kind of movement to get over here, but to get up to Bloodless, you would need Reflector Ray or Double Jump in the first place. And to come up from the top, you would need more, so you should be able to get up here with relative ease and get this accessory in STS. Okay, now if you were coming in the opposite direction, you'd be coming up through this side over here, and if you were coming upwards and you needed to get into the hall from this way, you would go right here and then go up that shaft and then back the way we just came. If you're going down, there's a few ways to go. So I didn't grab that in my playthrough either. Okay, so coming from here, there's a few ways to go to get back down to OD if you haven't already been there. If you haven't gone the vanilla way and you're coming upwards, right? So if you drop down through here, you can get there, but you need something to get through a small gap because you're blocked off by this thing right here. So you need dimension shift or reflector ray to get through. If you don't have one of those things, you have to go up and over and back down. And then you end up in the room where you get to OD's section over there and Andre Alphys' section over there, okay? I'm just going to drop down real quick here because if you're coming from the vanilla way, or even if you come from above, you'll want to check through this bookcase and check this accessory right here if you don't already have Jeebles. So that's another accessory check. And then, we'll talk about OD and Andre Alphys real quick. One of the cool things you can do with these switches, if they're starting to open, or an elevator even, basically the second you come on the screen, if you just get up here and see any piece of this thing starting to come down, you can then change screens again, then change back, and it will be completely open. So you can save yourself a few seconds there. OD, my man, what's up? I have all the books because I did all the junk, but normally you'll talk to this guy, he'll let you borrow one book, then you have to travel throughout the castle. You can do it easily with warp rooms, and then he'll eventually let you borrow 2 and then borrow 3. And they have various stat boosts. I talk about them a little bit, which ones are good in the items video, I think. But you won't see these bottom 5. These are all part of like some of the extra content that won't be in Randomizer. But Deadeye Tome is really good to make sure your purple shard's stronger. Then there's the various stat ups here, Fortune and Sages being the best because Int for more damage, Luck for more drops. But there's all sorts of weird builds you can make, like if you want to grab like attack speed or whatever, and combine that with maybe like the optimizer attack speed shard, you can do that. If you only offense that's any good right now is your melee weapon, you might want to grab strength. There's some strategy to be played with in this section. Then coming over here, you have the accessory chest that you need to be able to mess with OD to get. So you can either invert and kind of just like tap him into the ceiling. I don't know exactly how many times it is. I usually do like 5 to 10, whatever. You can also do it with high jump. And then eventually this chest will appear here. This chest doesn't always appear. But, in STS, this is always your accessory, so you're pretty much safe. And then in this room, you'll fight Andre Alphys, the boss. It dive kicks you in the face, jumps around, does all sorts of stuff. It's not too difficult. Has a lot of health, but you'll be able to beat it. You'll get used to its patterns. Ducking the standing kick and then jumping over when it tries to dive kick at you, and then just standing a little bit farther away. Try to stay at max melee range for when it does its little crescent moon kick thingy that has a little bit longer range. And then it shoots like spears at you and stuff. You just want to kind of jump over them. They track initially, but then once they're launched, they don't track anymore. So as long as you keep moving around, you can dodge most of it. Then from here, no matter which way you came in, the way you want to exit is out through TTD. So if you're going out this way, you always want to do that. Open this up and come down this way. You can do the accessory check last and then leave this closed, but there is a chance, especially in max cast, where if you don't have any teleporter rooms, you'll want this open because you might need to go back to OD, and this might be the fastest way to do it is through this shortcut. If you're going up, you just continue the way we talked about before. You can't go any other way except up in a hall if you're forced to go that way. But if you're coming through hall from the other direction, you want to go this way. This puts us in tower. And there's a couple accessory checks here. So first thing you can do is drop down into the vertical room. Normally you'd be coming up this in vanilla. This chest up here is an accessory. You do not need double jump. You can just do a running jump at the, about halfway up or so, and you can get up to this bad boy. And there's another one over in this hallway over here. One of these is a weapon, one of these is an accessory. I can never remember which. I've played a lot of Max Chaos for preparation for the marathon I was in, but yeah, one of these is an accessory. And I can actually show you the elevator trick right now. Move it up here. Yeah, this should work. Okay, so now you see how the elevator is not here? Normally you'd have to walk up and then it'll summon down. What you can do is instead of waiting, you can just do that and then screen transition, and then it'll just be back here. If that ever comes up for you. Okay, so then now, if you don't have movement that can get up here, double jump can do it, so no big deal. But you don't have, like movement, you might have to do this puzzle. You can do this climbing puzzle with double jump. You'll get spiked, of course, but you can kind of try to duck. If you duck in the opposite direction, you'll take damage in the opposite direction. So if you're not sure, if you're down here, if you duck in this direction, you'll get damaged in the opposite direction. So you can still get through here even if you don't like duck perfectly through it and get to this section. The problem is getting through here with double jump is doable. It's just really, really nasty. And you don't have you have to go back this way, come all the way back over here, go up these gears, and then you have to double jump across all these platforms. Just to get. I don't know if you can double jump. You might be able to double jump this. I have the extra speed though. I don't know if you can double jump this, but once you get up there, you can dive kick, across, or you can follow the platforms to check this chest up here. But this is just a weapon, so it's not necessary. Okay, and then we got no accessories really there, teleports, blah blah blah. So this is normally, you would here's the elevator, bam, there you go. So show you that real quick, and then well, here's a nice little trick you can do that I didn't mention in the tricks video because it's not really a trick, but you can just kind of duck in that section. The gears will mess you up a little bit and put you through floors and walls and themselves, in whatever way, but you can also get smashed in between them, so just be careful. Yeah, I should probably heal. Alright. Again, no accessories. If you're a Max Chaos player, you'll definitely want to just take a quick note that there is a secret chest under here that's only accessible with dimension shift. It's right here in the middle. You'll have a little up arrow to indicate a chest you can check. That could be Zangetsuto. I've never seen it, but it's possible. And then, you fight the boss and blah, blah, blah. Up here is a chest with armor in it. Little secret, if you can get up there. If you have the movement, you can always come back and max cast if you have to. When you win the fight, you'll have these things to fall through. And this is kind of what I was mentioning, I think, in the enemies video. You don't want to get grabbed if you don't have double jump, because you theoretically can get up here with uh, dimension shift. And just dimension shift. And if you have just dimension shift, if you fall down here, you won't be able to dimension shift back up because this room is a 2.5D spiral room. So just make sure if you only have dimension shift, you don't get grabbed by Valak and get your item that's in that chest. Also, this is a pretty big sticking point for people in the vanilla game. There's simply like nothing telling you what to do here. But basically, for progression in the game, you eventually have to get yourself to the Oriental Sorcery Lab. And to get there, this is where the Aegis Plate armor normally is. So how you would know this is here without just being an explorer and wanting to complete every area of the map, I don't know. Maybe an NPC mentions it at some point. Maybe Johannes or something suggests it to you in dialogue. But yeah, that's up there. Normally it's an armor. It'll get shuffled in same type, but it's a good check to remember in Max. And then from there, you're kind of just deciding what to do after that. Now, again, you can kind of do all these sections in any order. They're all linked together. And at any point, you can abandon them if you have a way into any of the other sections of the game. You can get to the train via this right here. Like we already covered the train quest with the silver bromide and turning it all in. And you can also go underground at any point where you have the ability to get through the underground. There's 3 or 4 different ways to get in. There's this section here. There's the dimension shifting through that door. There's the blood stealing way. And then there's that under the drawbridge way. And maneuvering through the underground takes a bit of finesse. And depending on like what you have available, you will... Oh yeah, that's not a breakable wall. There's just an item there to the right, normally. And we'll just talk about everything that's in the underground. We'll show it all. So, you can drop down here. There's some stuff, sat up. This guy's a purple. And you can figure out where all the purple stuff is by using the enemy list. There's chests and stuff everywhere. There's items over here. There's an item here. There's breakable wall over there. And accessory alert. There's a breakable wall here. There's an accessory right in that chest. The thing is, if you come down here and you can't get out, you may be soft locked. In theory, you should be able to get back up. I don't know if you need... Well, to get over here, you need double jump or something. Or you need deep sinker to get out of the water, so you should be able to get all the way back up through this long tunnel that goes back up and opens that door. But yeah, I'll just talk about the underground here. So you can jump over all this water. You can jump up and follow this path. There's a breakable wall in the on these 2 little upward exits on the left side, and you go up through that one, and then the right wall is breakable. That has an accessory in it. That one's so far out of the way, though, we usually don't ever check it. So I wouldn't worry too much about that in STS, unless you really think you can't beat the boss without Jeebel's glasses, and you're just checking accessories. You can always go for that one. But if you have go mode, you can just dimension shift through the door up here, and go through that way and get to this room, and then teleport out or whatever. So assuming all that's well and good, this is the room where you go down deeper into the caverns. And briefly, we'll just touch on some of the stuff back this way. So if you come down the drawbridge way, you'll need sinker, or you'll need invert, or something that gets you through the water. There's a breakable wall within the accessory here. You need any form of movement will get you up here. So double jump should be able to get you up here with the torch. Oops. You get the idea. You jump off that torch, you get up there. You can even probably jump from here and get there with a dive. You might have to dive kick, but you can get up there. Reflector ray will get you up there. Even accelerator on its own with a single jump. If you just do a regular single jump, will get you enough to get over there. There's another accessory check over here. And then just real quick, I want to demonstrate one little extra area from the drawbridge entrance. If you go left here, you can go down This takes you into the section where you need Deep Sinker and Reflector Ray to get into the third sorcery lab. And normally in the vanilla game, you will have to do it this way. You will not be able to get into the lava area, which you have to get invert. And normally to get invert, the game wants you to have... normally to get that Aegis plate, the game wants you to have invert to get it. Because double jump is typically only craftable in the vanilla game with items that drop in an area that's locked behind. Invert plus Aegis plate plus craft work. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, that is quite the undertaking in and of itself, right? So it's rare that you'll have the ability to go this way, but you could. It's possible. In an STS, you could get Reflector Ray, and you could find Deep Sinker in one of the lamps, or like off Andre Alphas or something. So it's possible. So just keep that in mind. It's just very, very unlikely, and you probably want to check everything else first because this is really slow. There's no purples in this sorcery lab. Then you have to fight this boss that drops a white shard. There's only one purple down here, and you can get access to the desert, which also has a purple and a boss fight and another white shard. By going the way that we're gonna go, and you just won't be able to come back around this way. So this is like a worst case scenario type deal. All right, let's head back to the normal way. Okay, so this is where you normally will come down. You'll use whatever water movement you have to come down this way. Oh, do I have the... Yep, so you'll come down through this way, Sinker, Aqua Stream, Invert Swimming, whatever you want to do. There's these spikes, they do a lot of damage, be careful. If you have Aegis Plate in the randomizer, you can just put it on. If you don't, you'll just want to avoid them. Just stay out of their way. There's some underwater chests, of course. There's enemies and stuff. You can't open any of this stuff without Sinker. You'll want to make mental notes of any green chests in STS or any green chests in Max Chaos because, green chests could have your Zangetsuto or they could have Jeebel's glasses and Max. This one to the right here is an accessory chest, but you also do need Sinker and Reflector Ray or Dimension Shift to check it. So we will rarely open that one, but if it comes up, it comes up. And now we're in the desert area, and Amy here, she also drops purple, this little like pink thing. And you usually, if you don't have invert, you're gonna go to the right. If you have invert and you're down here, it's probably because you ran out of checks. But one of our bosses is over to the right. And we want to come this way specifically to mention that you can get down here with Deep Sinker. The one issue that you might have is that if you go down this area right here, you cannot get back up without double jump. There is a crazy damage boost you can pull off to get back up. I've only done it a few times ever. I would never attempt to try it in a serious competitive situation. You definitely want to save before you come down here. And I think even though save splitting, quote unquote, will be banned in competitive play, it's okay if this is the only thing to do. And the seed's soft locked anyway, it won't matter. But you'll definitely want to save like wherever you can before you come down here, because if you come down here and soft locked and you're in not Max Chaos, you could actually save in the save room up there and be completely soft locked. Now, if you have Waystones, you can just Waystone out, which is cool. If you have any form of movement, you can get out. But this can also be a teleporter room, so if you're playing Max, you might come down here and you might go, okay, this is the only place I can go left, and I don't have anything, and, whatever. That's going to be very rare. But in STS, sometimes Albert over here is a forced play. So if you have Sinker, and then he has Shortcut, I have no idea what you would do from there. Cross that bridge, maybe we missed something. But also, you can Waystone out, so keep that in mind. And this little elevator up here is going to take you to Albert's room. He's a nasty boss. You know, you'll see him. You fight him in here. And then when you beat him, this opens the room here. And then this will be a white shard for you to check. There'll be the lamp up there. So if you're forced to come here to get movement to progress through the game, typically this is going to be your solution. Okay. Let's go back this way. There's all sorts of stuff to explore down here. Let me go. Let's go all the way up. Okay. Fortunately, she slows you when she hits you. Okay. I want to show you one quick accessory check as well because that's kind of like what we're doing in this section. Strategy and routing, just to help you out. There is an accessory right there. You need reflector ray dimension shift to check it. So if you're here, you want to check that, check it out. Definitely worth going out of your way for a check. Okay. And then that's pretty much it for the desert. There's a bunch of stuff for Max Chaos you need to learn where it's at and like hidden stuff. But again, I'll let you refer to the sheet for that. Wanted to come through here because a special mention of this warp room. This is one of the other this is the second of the 3 warp rooms that are never modified by shuffling warp rooms. And again, that is because if you fall down here without double jump or vertical movement, you cannot get out. Technically, you can come all the way down here and you can get to this area, and then you would be stuck. Unfortunately, there is no safety for this right side, like I just explained. It is possible, you know. So there's that. To get through this, you have to have invert or dimension shift. And this is a nice back doorway into the lava area. So if we want to go check the lava area for stuff, and we want to avoid this other lab that has like nothing in it but a blue and STS, this is like the way to go. Typically, people will put this off until they have invert, or until it's one of the last checks. There are a bunch of accessory checks down here, but they're all out of the way and past where your purple shard's at. So you can farm your purple shard right here with Volcano Morte. But I'll just show you where the accessory checks are real quick. There's a breakable wall right here that has an accessory on it. This is where you fight the invert boss. Okay. Accessory check number 2 is in this breakable wall right here. And then there's one more breakable wall here. Treasure chest right there. For, you know, STS, of course. I really should just have... Huh. How do I not have Summon Hellhound? I mean, I must have sold it by accident? Okay, that's fun. Well, anyway. Drop. Right on cue, folks. Right on cue. Clip that. Yeah, anyway. It's one of the better reds. I mean, I talked about it. But yeah. Again, there's a bunch of chests here, but none of them have anything important in them in STS. And we'll just show you a quick little run through of this area, just so you get the chance to see it. Of this lab here. There is actually a breakable hidden wall accessory in this area. So right down here is a breakable wall, and this has an accessory in it. But for everything else, you're good. You don't need to worry about it. if you're in STS. And if you're looking for glasses here in STS, things have gone horribly wrong, so. Yeah, but there's all sorts of little side rooms with chests in them, stuff like that. You fight Doppelganger in here. Let me go heal real quick. I want to show you the other side. And if you came in through the sinker plus reflector ray dimension shift way, you'd be coming in this way. But I don't know why you would come through here with dimension shift. If you had dimension shift, you're in go mode. You just need to go check the key item locations in STS. So like, there's none of them down here. Our homie the invert boss drops invert, so a white shard. But there's stuff up here. You break up a wall. You can check all sorts of that. But again, no accessories, nothing to that degree. So just show you that section. And then let's teleport back on over to the train. The train area I'm not really going to go through because it's just linear. You go through the door with the pass plate. You fight the train. You come around. Oh yeah, but I will show you the accessory check that's in the train area, just so you see it. There's a couple of them. They're all in the back here. There's this one, which you need dimension shift or reflector ray to get to. And then there's one down here. So in the floor, you have this chest here. Okay, now we're going to show you how to get into the DN6 Citadel. Or I'm sorry, the OSL from the DN6 Citadel. In the tricks video, I show you a way to use just invert to get in with a little cheeky clip. But let me show you the intended way, just in case you are a little adverse to doing that, or for whatever reason in randomizer, maybe you don't have invert, maybe you have high jump, and you have enough health or Aegis plate, and you have craft work or Gale Crawler. So we have this little section here where, you got to get this thing out of the way. Oops. There we go. It's out of the way. Now we have a section here where you just got to go like, oh crap. If you have enough healing, you can get through here. You don't have to have the Aegis plate. You just have to have the vertical movement to be able to get through the section. It's really difficult, though, to get up here and not die without it, though. I've seen it done, but it's horrible, right? So I use some healing. But you can push this with backdashing. Oh yeah, you have to take the hit and then have enough healing to be able to push. Take the hit and then push. Take the hit and then push. Now you can imagine how much easier that is with Aegis plate. So definitely think about routing this in. If you don't have invert, try to do other stuff. Try to find that Aegis plate maybe. Or just, you might have to do it. It's possible. I'd like to say that there's no way in the logic, but there is no logic, so you never know. Unlikely we would vet something for competitive play with that required. But, it's something to be aware of if you're playing and practicing in your own time. So this is OSL. This is one of the hardest areas in the game. Enemy difficulty really ramps up here. There's all sorts of interesting stuff going on here. This is the way in from the other side that you see in the tricks video. So these little gates teleport you around. There's a breakable wall and an accessory right there. Definitely check that. There's a few purple shards in here. Not on that guy, he just likes to interfere with what we're up to. There is one of the purple dropping shard guys is in here. This is a good spot to farm him. And yeah, it's just this gets you up here, and then for your max players, there is That's how you get up to this left side here to check that stuff. And the way up is to jump through this and through that. Good fun. Nothing in here but a trap. Got your teleport room over here in vanilla. Now to get up through here, you have a couple ways. That wall is solid, but you can kind of just like double jump / high jump up through this. You can dimension shift up through this. This is a platform you can drop in and down. Again, for this, you have to have something that gets you through the little space. So you have to have like dimension shift or reflector ray to get through there if you're playing max. Check that. Kamikaze here drops a purple. There is an accessory check, but it's yeah, a little further in. Up here is Carpenter's room, and this guy right here, he's a jerk. So, you know, he has all sorts of terrible stuff. 15% drop rate on his purple. You might have to farm this. Strongly recommend getting that teleport room. If you don't have a teleport room, ignoring this, trying to go up here and seeing this is a teleport room. You know, or like saving, making sure you save before you fight him. Okay, and then there's an accessory check all the way up here and back in this corner. And then all the way over here is Zangetsu 1202. This is the last key item check you're going to have for the sword. It's always going to be the last one you go to because everything else is faster, and to get up here you have to have all that stuff that we talked about. But in here you fight Z and you hit up like in the right distance from him, and then he hands you the sword. That's how you get in the vanilla game. So this is your last key item check from up here. Alright, and then with that, let's teleport, and we'll show you the end game. No, yeah, we're good on health. Okay, so you defeated Jeeble with the Zangetsu sword. You've done all the other stuff, you know, in the randomizer that you need to or whatever. And you want to go to the last area. So how do you open that? Same way as you do in the vanilla game. Come into this room over here with the Zangetsu sword. You slice the moon that's now here because Jeeble was defeated correctly by slicing the moon in this fight. And you teleport in. Be very careful about hitting up in any way because you will teleport right back. But if you go to the right here, there's an accessory check hidden in the wall. This is a Hail Mary check that we go for sometimes. There is one more accessory check on the way down to the final fight, so you can sometimes get bailed out by that in STS. But if you've got any kind of speed and you're like desperate for damage, it's not a bad way to look over there. There's all sorts of weird, wacky rooms. If you go down and to the left here, this will eventually take you to the race game, and that's where you get Accelerator in vanilla. But we typically never do that because it just takes too long. You have another key item chest right up here. This one will potentially pop up for you. If you get, like, say, a Zangetsu sword, you beat Jeeble, you're able to get in here, but you're missing other key items that open up other areas, like the train section, like one of the super bosses that drops a purple. You'll want to check these because you might have to still need Dimension Shift to beat the game, and if you don't have that, and you farm it out, it might be on one of those guys. So there's definitely potential for you to have to backtrack out of this area. Okay. I'm just going to get through this stuff again as quickly as possible. Just to keep the video time, trying to keep it down in under an hour and a half if we can. Alright. And you can farm Abyssal Guardians in this room. That's the best room to farm him in. This is where our boy Velik is normally, and he's got the, you know, I talked a little bit about him in the enemies video. You know, you'll fight him. But if you have Dimension Shift, you can just jump up here, and you can just Dimension Shift through this wall. So this is a great way to skip a boss, especially if you don't need any more purples. You've found the one you need. There you go. You'll see that a lot. Okay, then we got to go up and around. You don't have to go up this way, but you do have to go through partially. And then down. And then this gets you into the Glacial Tomb. This is the last section. Careful of these ice guys, they hurt. And then you've got your teleport room for STS. It could be a save in max, but you've got your last accessory check. It's actually not this chest. It's in a breakable wall over here. And this is actually an armor. But this breakable wall over here will be where your last accessory check is in STS. And then, if you're still actually missing Dimension Shift, there's a few things you can do. There's the Demon Lord enemy that's down here. You can also farm them in the Carpenter fight. He'll summon them. There is another key item chest right here, which could have a bromide in it. It could have a boss key in it. And then you have this section down and to the right. And this is where Gremory is. So Gremory is all the way down here. And same as the vanilla game, you know, you have to come down here. Blah, blah, blah. Fight her in there. Don't see it a whole lot in STS. It's, again, it takes so long. You have to come all this way, past the safety check, past the teleporter to check it. And, you know, typically we've exhausted all of our other options before we go there. But it's not bad for a gamble. And then to get to the end game, you have to use your Dimension Shift in this room. This is why Dimension Shift is required. There's just literally no way through without it. You have one little taunting gap room there. You have the Validation Breakable Wall that I always like to check because, you know, fun. But again, this is, if it's Zangetsuto in a max cash, you're soft locked most likely. Yeah, you're soft locked. And, because then it gets without the you know, safety as well, and then you know, it's a stat up normally in the base game, but I like to check it, a little validation, if you will. And then you have your save room at the end. It could also be a teleport if you're in max, and then your final boss is in the next room. So that's basically the whole castle. We've kind of explored all of it. I didn't go through every single room and little section, but I did explain the train area and all that and so on. And I'm again for the max players, I'm going to leave it to you. But before we take off, real quick. Just one more quick note on the glasses. We want to cover one or two quick strategy things. So the basic ring item, the accessory, I don't know if I have any in my inventory, but yeah, this. So in STS specifically, this guy will open up a craftable accessory for you. So a lot of recipes will open up crafting. There really aren't any for accessories in the game, but if you have the ring, it will open up another item, even if the ring doesn't craft into it. So if you find one in Max Chaos, you'll see another item here for crafting, even though you know, these things that require the ring, you know, wouldn't require it because they'd be all shuffled around. It will still open a ring to check. So if you have a base ring, you'll always want to come back here and just check this menu to see if the Jeeble's glasses are now craftable. Okay, so you know, that's another way to check. And we mentioned the quests already; those are another good way to check. We mentioned the ones we passed by. Also, here's the vanilla chest. If it's in here, you're kind of screwed in a randomizer. You're just not going to get Jeeble's glasses. And the last thing I just want to point out to you is you will notice that there are craftable shards here. So in competitive play, what we do is somebody will vet the seed ahead of time just to make sure it's completable, because there's still a decent chance for a soft lock, you know, like somewhere between like 7 to 20%. I don't know. It really depends. And if we see that Dimension Shift is not obtainable anywhere in the drop pool, which it is possible, but it is craftable, we will oftentimes just call that a soft lock, because whatever these items are, if they're going to be randomized, and we just don't expect you to play a seed for 5.5 hours looking for what drops the item. Maybe the item's not even farmable. Like it's just too much trouble. So if we see the only way to get DS is craftable, we will just not use that seed for competitive play. There is a random chance though that the Dimension Shift is available throughout the normal drops, and it's also here in the crafting options. So if you find that to be the case and you're playing in a competitive match, you can go ahead and craft Dimension Shift and use it. I believe for the tournament, I'm not 100% sure if we're going to cheeky announcement plug allow that. I don't see why not. May as well. I mean, if I have to vet like 100 seeds, you know, because we have like 13 players or 15, 16 players or whatever, it's just going to be tough to do it in the first place. So I'm probably just going to let that rock. But if you're wondering how these pop up, I believe I covered it in the shards video. But just as a reminder, once you find the shard that's base, even if you don't have the ingredients, the shard that's base that crafts into something else, you will be able to then view this when you come back to the shop and see. So, it's here. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the strategy video. We got it done in an hour and a half. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure if you haven't already, watch the last video in the playlist if you're here in 2025 for a special announcement. And we'll see you in the I think the sample runs, because I think this is pretty much everything in the tutorial series. If anything comes up afterwards that we've found, that needs to be added, I will make a separate video for that and add it to the playlist, like chair bounce or something like that. That will be legal. But yeah, in any event, thank you if you've watched all of these. Appreciate it. I'm excited to have you as part of the Bloodstained randomizer community. And if we don't get a randomizer in the new game, I'm looking forward to coming back to this game and playing a lot, and still firing up from time to time for nostalgia's sake. So appreciate anybody who's watched any and all of these, and thanks so much for tuning in to my reworked tutorial series for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Randomizer. Take care. See you guys in game.